Did you know that long before we started throwing around the term fake news and liberal media and all sorts of other lovely political terms that probably will signal the end of the demise of our civilization and or some sort of fucked up Holocaust. Long before that, we had fake news, except we didn't call it that. I guess we were more creative. We called it fear-mongering. So what is fear-mongering? Well, when you're watching like previews for your local news and coming up at 10 or 11, probably 11, whatever, coming up at 11, the link between soda and death. That is fear-mongering. Why? Because holy shit, we all drink soda. We're all gonna die, right? Maybe, except the newscasters are reporting the bite-sized morsel that we can all swallow and digest and then freak out about like it's a bad acid trip. Whereas scientists will report simply findings, and findings usually occur in correlations. For example, I'm thinking about drawing a picture. For example, let's say we're looking for the correlation between slutty clothes. I'm not slut shaming, as you may have noticed. I like my cleavage too. I'm just saying it's easier than spending 12 hours of me going like this and trying to explain what I mean. So, slutty or sexy clothes and insecure women. Just go with me. Okay, so let's say we're looking for a relationship between these two things. If you can read my scribble, congrats. You're halfway to understanding, right? So let's say there is a relationship. Oh, eureka. We do a study, we administer assessments and self-report measures, and we contact a statistician, or we learn stats. And sorry if you had to learn stats because, it sucks. Thank God I had a really good stats partner when I was in grad school, who I married. Anyways, here are these two things. What's the relationship? Well, we look at it, we find that there's a correlation, and we're like, yay, it's a correlation. What does a correlation mean? A correlation means that these two things have some sort of an overlap. For example, sexy clothes, insecure women. Let's play this out. And this in the middle would be the overlap. Oh, by the way, this is also called a Venn diagram, and I'm a big fan. There is not a Venn diagram fan club on Instagram, in case you were wondering. I looked it up last night. Not sure why. Anyways, so we know that there's an overlap, but we don't know why. So we don't know if women who are insecure then like to dress sexy, and so first they were insecure and then they dress sexy, or if your clothes are too sexy, do you become insecure because you realize that everyone in your small suburban town is probably talking about you? We don't know. All we know is that there's some sort of overlap. This overlap is called a correlation. If, for some reason, we were able to identify, not choose, because that's not scientifically valid. If we were able to identify which came first through some sort of, it's called a longitudinal study. It means a study that takes place over time. So, for example, let's say when these women were 6, 8, 14, and 28, we gave them measures of their self-esteem, self-confidence, whatever the opposite of insecurity would be. Or to make it easier, we could just give them measures like a study that measured insecurity, and we'd say, hey, how were you insecure here, here, here? And then we could also track, similarly, when they started wearing sexier clothing. Well then, eureka, we'd be able to tell which came first, the sexy clothing or the insecure women, because we would have this like timeline of different measures, and we could be like, right here, they started wearing sexy clothes. See? And then right here, they got less secure. See? So then we would be like, okay, here is a causal relationship. What's a causal relationship? This shouldn't shock you. A causal relationship is when we can identify that one thing causes another. So in this case, we're like, oh, right here, started wearing sexy clothes, and right here, got less secure. So obviously, they were wearing sexy clothes, and they realized that fucking everyone in the moms network was talking about them. It happens. If you don't know who they're talking about, they're probably talking about you. I'm just saying, it's a little life lesson I've learned. So that is a causal relationship. Now you're watching the news, and the news says, coming at 10, why? And this was an actual one that irked me enough that I remember it from like 3 months ago, and here I am talking about it. Coming up at 10, the link between getting the flu shot and dying of a heart attack. Holy shit, what's the link? We're all gonna die. I got a flu shot, right? Right. So then I tuned in to the news, which I rarely do because I much prefer sleeping. Still, I tuned in and I was like, what are they gonna say? What is the connection? Is it correlational? Is it causal? So they didn't answer that. Here's what they told you. People that do not receive the flu vaccine are more likely to die of a heart attack. Fuck. There is clearly some sort, I'm going to knock this phone down and mess up this whole thing. There must be some sort of like antibiotic, anti-something or other, anti-heart attack thing in the flu vaccine that prevents me from dying of a heart attack, right? Wrong. Okay, so if the flu vaccine doesn't prevent heart attacks, then maybe heart attacks or a likelihood to have a heart attack is more likely to make someone get the flu vaccine because it's like weird and psychic and it's just some crazy shit we don't understand. Probably not that either. So what is it? Well, it's probably not causal because that doesn't make sense. In fact, it's probably correlational. And the best thing about correlations is usually there's a third option. A third fucking option, even though there's two variables. So you can't really say for certainty, oh, this, fine. So here it goes. You ready for my heart attack flu vaccine explanation? Because it'll help you understand why you shouldn't give into that fear-mongering because it's crap. Okay, here you go. If I'm the kind of person, well, who gets heart attacks? Older, overweight, lower SES, I should say who dies of an initial heart attack or has a heart attack so bad that they die. Odds are, statistically speaking, older, overweight, don't work out, lower SES and therefore has less access to good healthy food, which they should, high fruits and vegetables, and people who don't visit the doctor regularly. Makes sense, right? These people are more likely to die of a heart attack if they never went to the fucking doctor in the first place, if they can't afford the healthy foods that are heart healthy, if they didn't see the signs coming, the high blood pressure, for women it's different than men, the symptoms, the signs, the slow, low-key, just in case there are any 20-somethings watching, those low-key symptoms of heart attacks that in retrospect you can piece back together and be like, damn, I should have seen this coming. But if you don't go to the doctor, you don't take care of yourself, you don't go to a gym, you don't work out in a cardiovascular way, you're not going to notice that your heart is pumping differently and weirdly and you're like, maybe I should go to that doctor. So in fact, when your local news tells you you're in trouble, if you didn't get a flu vaccine, you're probably going to die of a heart attack. That's not really what they're saying. It is what they're saying because hello, ratings and promotions and I don't know. Our local news sucks, but that's not what the scientists who did the study are saying. And what the scientists are saying is, interesting. Look at this first study that has identified a link between these two things. It would be interesting to see what the next step is to figure out, what the actual connection is. And literally that's how most scientific articles end. If you ever get through more than just the abstract is like the Cliff Notes. But that's not what the news people report. So the next time you hear, holy shit, I'm swearing a lot. It's been a really long week. Holy cow, if I have chocolate 3 days a week, I'm gonna get fat. That's all I can come up with in the moment. Pause and go, wait. Is it the chocolate, or is it, if I'm having chocolate 3 days a week, I'm probably also having that Cheez Whiz, which is awesome. Think about it. Bye.